Are you frustrated and unhappy in your job or career? Are you thinking about making a change, but you are worried that you may do something wrong or even jump back into another frying pan? Making a career switch is said to be the toughest thing to do in our career, but actually, the biggest challenge is to put in the effort to get the career we want. Once you know what to look out for, it can become your greatest career weapon. Having immense career confidence to do what you want. This is what this workshop is all about, giving you the confidence to make a successful career switch.
Hello, good afternoon. Have you ever been told that making a career switch is one of the most difficult things to do? I'd like to offer another thinking that actually it is not the complexity, right? It is actually in the amount of effort you need to put in to make such a big step. Hi, for those who don't know me, my name is Yuan. I'm a practicing career coach, and over the last 10 years or so, I've been having my own private coaching practice. I specialize in helping job seekers recrafting their career paths. And one of the many things that they have to do or they want to do is making a career switch. Right? So, what makes me qualified to talk about this topic? Actually, this topic is actually very personal to me. Right? Over the last 35 years or so, I've actually made multiple career switches. And I've learned many lessons along the way. And these lessons have allowed me to make such career shifts in a very effective and productive manner. So today's topic will actually be a collection of all my experiences. All right? Now, most of my clients, when they come to talk to me about career switching, after stripping away all the reasons, the biggest issue is their lack of confidence. Okay? Are you in the same boat? Do you have the confidence that you need to actually take the next step? Well, the focus for today is for me to share with you step-by-step actions to give you that confidence to make a career switch. And some of you may even come back to me and say, hey, it's actually quite easy, right? However, you must make the effort. All right? Now, along the way as well, I will share with you why employers are concerned about career switches. And I'll share with you how you can navigate around those concerns. Is that all right? Okay. Now, this topic is just one of the many I deliver with WSG. Right? So you can see some of the topics here. If you are keen to know about the schedule of my upcoming workshops, as well as how you can access the recordings of my past workshops, stay tuned to the end. All right? Okay. Now, whenever a client comes to me and says, Yuan, I want to make a career switch. Essentially, they are either in 1, 2, or 3 stage. Okay, what are these stages? The first stage is whether they are unsure if they really want to make a change, right? Or number 2, they want to make a change, but they don't know what career to switch into, right? Or 3, they know what they want to switch into, but they don't know how to do it. So I'd like to know from you, right, which stage are you at? 1, 2, or 3? Can you type into the chat box, which stage are you at? Okay, some say 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. 3 and 2s are the main ones, okay? All right, there's a 1 there, but essentially mostly 3s and 2s. Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing with me. Whatever stage you are in, essentially there are a few questions you need to answer effectively. Okay, what are these questions? Well, the first 3 big questions is this. What exactly is a career switch? Right? What are the reasons that has prompted you to make this switch? And lastly, why is it so difficult to make a switch? Right? Now, it's very, very important for us to understand the answers to these 3 questions before we actually go into the last portion, right? Which is how to do it, which is what I see most of you are in that category itself, how to do it, right? But I need to make sure that you understand the first 3 questions first, right? So that's what we are going to do today, all right? So these are the 4 takeaways, hopefully you get at the end of today's session, all right? These are the topics that we're going to cover. So let's talk about the first one, which is career switch, right? What exactly is a career switch? If you look at it, career switch is basically making a significant change from what you are currently doing now, right? And this change could involve moving to a different industry or role, or maybe doing both, a change in industry as well as a role, right? Let me illustrate this very simply. Okay. So imagine this, you have an industry on the axis and then a career. So if you are thinking of making a change from what you're doing now, so imagine now that you are in the yellow box, right? You could either change into another job, another company, but in the same role and the same industry. However, if you want to make a career switch, you could obviously go to this, the red box, which is changing both your career as well as the industry. Right? However, there are intermediate steps involved as well, isn't it? There are possibilities of the intermediate nature. You can do something like this in the blue box. You can either retain your career but change industry, or you change your career but stay within the same industry. Right? Just stay within the same industry. Okay? So if I were to look at this and ask every one of you, I'm sure you will know that the most difficult action, the most difficult path you can make is jumping into which color box? Is it the blue box or is it the red box? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, most of you have said it. It is the red box, right? Simply because you have to reinvent yourself and make a lot of sacrifices. So my question to you now is this. What are the sacrifices you need to make when you are making a career switch? Okay, some people say pay cut, financial time, pay cut. A lot of people say pay cut. What else? Family time, relearn skills, compensation benefits, retraining. Pay cut comes out again. You have to invest in education. All right, that's not a sacrifice, right? That's an investment. Stamina, I like that, starting from scratch. Qualification, maybe you need to re-educate yourself. Uncertainties. Very good. A lot of really good reasons, right? So if I were to categorize, group these sacrifices into a few categories, essentially they fall into these areas. Correct or not? All right. Many of you put financial stability, all right? Pay cut and all that. You don't want to take a pay cut if you can help it. Some people put down work-life balance. Some people say, I sacrifice my existing skills and experience. I have to relearn everything. Right? Job may not be as stable as before because I'm going to a new area. Status, I've spent X number of years building up my rank, my position, and now when I change, I have to change my status. Right? And therefore, my career progress is also lagging behind my peers. Right? If you spend a lot of time within a certain industry, you build up a network. If you change industry, you are possibly going to lose your network. And then lastly, obviously, the sense of familiarity is also there. Right? Okay, good. So that is the nature of making a career switch. All right, so I need you to understand this. All right, there are different ways of making career switch, but there are also risks, right? And there are sacrifices that you need to make. Right? So we understand now what is a career switch. Let's take a look at the reasons that are justifiable to make a career switch. Okay. Here, I share with you an article that was compiled by LinkedIn early part of this year. Okay. So it says that more Singapore professionals are seeking to change jobs despite the cooling labor market. Okay. And here they says that around 70% respondents said they will likely choose a different industry or job role. And why? Why are they wanting to do that? Top motivations, looking to live for higher wages, right? In a challenging economic environment, better work-life balance. Okay. It also says that a desire to explore other interests, to add to your experience portfolio, right? To make yourself more attractive, and also for better growth prospects. So those are very, very good reasons to make a switch. Okay, so let me ask you now. Now is your time to share. Can you type into the chat box, why do you want to make a switch? Say work-life balance, stability, anything else? AI replaced, okay? Frustrated current industry, new challenges, personal growth, better career prospect, okay? Little room for progress, align with your personality, all right? Hard to find a job, current industry not doing well, better career prospect, personal growth, less stressful. Okay, very good. Very good reasons, very good reasons. Right. So essentially, based on my experience in dealing with many clients, the reasons could be categorized into these 12 areas. 12 areas. Yeah. So stagnation, dissatisfaction, work-life balance. Some of the words here is actually what the words you have used actually in the chat box. Okay. Burnout, misalignment with values and all. Okay. So there are 1 to 12. Now, let me ask you, based on the difficulty and the sacrifices you need to make if you are going to make a career switch, which of these reasons are strong enough to push you to make the effort to do a career switch? Can you type into the chat box? Which of these are strong enough? Okay, 3, 11, 8, 9, 10, 1 and 2, 9, 6 and 7, 7, 4, 11, 8, 9, 10. All right, what else? Some say 11, 12, 5, 9, 11, 7, 8, 9, 11 and 12, 2 and 5, 1 and 3, 11 and 12, 9. Okay, so it looks like many of you are talking about reasons in the latter category. Now, from my experience, those that are highlighted here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, usually in general, will give you the strongest motivation to make the effort in going for a career switch. I'm not saying the others don't give you the motivation, but chances are, in general cases, those other reasons from 1 to 7 could sometimes be solved more easily by not making a career switch, but perhaps by changing your employer. Okay? But the key thing here is this: you must have a strong enough reason that gives you the motivation to make the effort so that you will go about doing what you need to do to make the career switch. All right? So, the essence of this section is really to make sure you understand if the reasons that you want to make a switch is really strong enough so that you are willing to look at the sacrifices and say, yes, I'm willing to risk those sacrifices. Right? Now, this one, very interesting. Why is it so difficult to make a career switch? Right? How many of you have been hammering away on your PC, your Mac, churning out CVs after CVs, sending out hundreds and hundreds of applications, right? And you don't get anything back in return. You don't get anything back in return. Admit it, right? Many of my clients, before they came to see me, that's what they're experiencing, right? The key thing here you need to understand, one of the reasons why you may be having that difficulty is because employers have concerns about career switches. Okay? Employers have concerns about career switches. Tell me why. What are the concerns you think employers have about career switches? Can you type into the chat box? What are the employer concerns about career switches? Job fit, lack of experience, age and lack of experience, may not fit, age again, okay, retraining, wrong fit, interest, no experience, okay, maybe lack of experience, right? Lack of experience itself, okay, right? Non-degree holder, I think that's beginning to be less and less, okay? Need to retrain, will you fit, will you commit, will you be a valuable asset? Very good. Very good reasons. Essentially, if you look at this, the concerns by employers could actually fall into these categories. Okay? Whether you have the relevant skills and experience, whether you're able to adapt to a new environment. Okay? Do you fit in with the new colleagues and maybe sometimes working with a younger boss? Right? Did you have issues in your previous work that you're escaping from? What are your salary expectations, especially those who are older? Okay. Longevity. How long will you stay? How long will you stay? Right? So all of you know what the potential concerns are. All right. So knowing what these potential concerns are, do you think a simple piece of paper like a resume is going to address all these concerns? Right? Do you think a simple piece of paper like this resume is going to address all these concerns if the employer doesn't know you at all? And that is the first time they're seeing anything about you. Right? Farida says no. Exactly. Right? They're not going to be able to overcome these concerns simply from reading your resume on its own. Okay? So therein lies the problem of the traditional job search process. Okay? Now those of you who are in the senior bracket, in the old days, maybe 20 plus years ago, 30 years ago, this traditional job search process would be enough. All right? You are basically focused on connecting with the employer. So your connection essentially is by sending out your resume. All right? Sending out your resume. But in today's world, this traditional job search process doesn't work anymore. Doesn't work anymore. Right? So let me explain to you why. Okay. The first one, C. You click on something that you saw in the newspaper or in the job portal, right? In the old days, Saturday classified, you cut out the thing, right? So you click on that. Then what happens? You take a look at it. You review the job description, right? You see if it fits you and all that. And you think, oh, that looks very interesting. What happens next? You apply for that job, right? Now, you apply for that job. Last P. What do you think that P stands for? Can you type into the chat box? After applying, what is the last P that you are hoping for? Anyone? Some people say pending potential and all that. Well, let me tell you, the last P stands for pray. You pray that that piece of paper, all right, that application, that CV, right, is sufficient enough to overcome the concerns that we already talked about just now. All right, all these things in the blue box. All right, you are praying that whoever reads that piece of paper, the application, will call you up for the interview. Right? Let me tell you, for career switchers and indeed even for senior workers as well as people who have been absent from work and then want to come back into the workforce, traditional job search process doesn't work anymore. Okay? This is the first key thing I need you to understand. Very, very important. Okay? Very, very important. Okay? The traditional job search process only focuses on the final lap, connecting up with the employer. That's why you're focused so much on the resume and the interview. The modern job search process involves steps before this last one. Okay, what are these steps? You need to assess your strengths, who you are, your motivations. You need to know what's out there in the marketplace, right? Once you have those information, then you start looking at forming a strategy. You form a strategy, the best and most effective strategy that you can have in order to make an impact when you connect up with the employer. All right. So that is the modern job search process. Okay. So I'm going to talk about this modern job search process in the how section. In the how section. All right. So stay tuned for that. Huh? So I hope you understand now. For those of you who are experiencing difficulties when you are applying for a new job, when you are switching careers, why you are facing such big challenges, right? It's essentially because you need to overcome employer concerns about career switches. Is that all right? So that is something you need to understand. Very, very critical. Okay? So the thing here now is the effort you need to put in. Okay? The effort you need to put in, as you can guess already. All right? You need to put in a lot of things. You need to put in a lot of things. It's no longer so simple anymore.
Hi, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you've seen and can't wait for the next one, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel in the link below. See you soon.
Let's go straight into the how. All right? I'll talk a little bit about the how and then we go for a short break. All right? So, how? Okay, I'm going to frame how you go about doing a career switch by using the modern job search process. The modern job search process. Okay? And I'm going to try and make it as more as a step-by-step way as possible so that it's very clear for you. Okay? Who am I? Who am I? Right? In essence, you're saying know yourself. Right? Some of you may be asking yourself, oh, I know myself, I know who I am, why do I need to bother going through this? Essentially, if you look at it, you need to be able to examine these three areas. Okay? What is your motivation? Motivation to work, motivation to do something. Okay? What are your skills? What are your strengths? Okay? These three key areas. Now, knowing yourself, there are a lot of ways to do this. There are a lot of ways to do this. I'm sure those of you who have been with career coaches before, right, they would have brought you through their own process. Okay. Now, I have my own process. I know I don't have time to actually talk about this in detail here, but I'm going to share with you, right, this particular YouTube recording that I've done. But essentially, whatever method you use to look at what your motivations are, what your skills are, what your strengths are, there are three questions you need to answer. Three questions you need to answer. What are these three questions? There they are. There they are. What do I do well? Okay, your skills. Okay. What is important to you in terms of your career? So your career values. Okay. And what motivates you, what engages you. And this is linked to your interests and your personality. All right. So three questions you need to answer. Okay. Whichever method you use to find out these answers, try and make sure you get the answers to these. Get the answers to these. All right. Okay. Now, the output of this whole uh, um, exercise, this whole portion of assessing yourself, knowing yourself, okay, the output for this is really a list of things that are important to you, what matters to you in your career. Now, this list that I have here on the screen is actually a very simple list. It's an example, it's not comprehensive. You could have other items in there that says that's important to you. Okay, so you have to come up with your list. It could be quite a long one, it could be quite a short one, right? But try and generate this list as much as you can. Okay, try and generate this list as much as you can. Now, what happens when you get this list? Okay, the first thing you need to do is to rank them. Which one is the most important to you? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you rank them. Okay, so that is important. Huh? So keep that list aside. All right. Okay, so that was the first portion on knowing yourself. Okay, answer those three questions. Okay, and then at the end of it, you have a list of what's important to you, what matters to you. All right. Next thing here. Wow is the world of work. The world of work. Okay. So you need to know what's happening out there in the marketplace. Okay. And what are the things that you need to know? Okay. What are the market trends, salary benchmarks? Okay. What are the prospects? In other words, which industry is growing, which one is not growing? Right? The mentality at this stage is that you are exploring. Okay, so very, very important. You are in the exploration stage. In other words, you are looking around and seeing what's possible for you. Okay, now, like in the other section, this portion, you also need to answer a few questions. Okay, what are these questions? What are these questions? Yeah. Okay. What skills are organizations looking for in my interest area? What type of organization best supports my values? What job is aligned with my interests and traits? Okay, these three questions. You may be asking me now in your head, wow, Yuan, how am I going to find out all these things? How am I going to find out all these things? Right? Some of you will be thinking, oh yeah, I can go online and find out. Maybe these are like some of the sources that I can find out. Like I go my careers future, I go to career finder, my skills future, skills framework and all that. Yeah, those are possible areas to find out. Right? But I need to remind you one critical factor. One critical factor. This notion, right? This notion of the iceberg. The jobs that you see advertised in job portals are actually the minority, right? Studies have shown that it's either 25% or less. Okay, sometimes 15% comes from the headhunters. So those are the visible job market. That is the visible job market, which means what? The majority of the job opportunities are actually not in the public domain, right? Figures have shown 45% from networking, 15% from internal referrals. So you may be asking yourself now, how then do I identify what those job opportunities are? Well, do you think that going through the online portals and all that, like the My Skills Future, My Careers Finder, is that going to help you find those hidden opportunities? Chances are probably not, highly unlikely. Then how do you do this? How do you do this? Well, the only way I know how, and the most effective way I know how, is to talk to people. To talk to people. In other words, you have to build your network. You have to build your network, go out and talk to people. All right? Go out and talk to people who are involved in the industry, involved in the market, doing that job, right? People who are in the company that you're interested to work for. Get to know them, build a relationship with them, right? And then you'll be able to find out what those opportunities are, okay? The hidden opportunities. I talked a lot about this in another webinar that I've done before called the hidden job market, attacking the hidden job market. You have answered these three questions. You have answered these three questions from the previous section. So what is the next step now? So just revisit. So in the previous portion, you have under looking at yourself, right? What do I do well? What is important to you, right? What engages and motivates you? In this portion, when you go out and look at what's out there in the marketplace, what's available, what are the opportunities, right? You have to answer these three questions, right? What skills are organizations looking for in my interest areas? What type of organizations best supports my values? What job is aligned with my interests and traits? So what's the next step? You have some vague answers, some ideas to all these things. Your next step now is to what? Match the two portions together. Match the two portions together. And essentially, you're looking at this. Okay? As far as skills are concerned, right? You have to look at, that job function. Does that job function match the skills that you have? Okay? As far as values are concerned, what type of environment does the organization have? Does that environment suit you? Okay? Your task, your whatever engages you, what motivates you. If you are someone who likes to do desk-bound job, right? Does that job allow you to do that? Or if you are someone who likes to meet people, does that job allow you to do that? Okay? So this is your next step you need to do. Match up the information you got from the previous section with the information you get from today's section. Okay? Now remember, I talked about the things about career values, what matters to you in your career, that list. Okay? So how do you use this list? Okay. Now, to answer the question earlier about how many do you need to have? How many do you need to have? Okay. You will probably get a bit more clearer when I show you how you're going to use this. Okay. I will share with you this little table. It's called the decision matrix table. Okay. On the left side here is basically your ranked values. Okay. In this example, right, I categorize a lot of those values into 8 portions. Right. Typically, I won't recommend more than 8. Right. Between 5 to 8 is good because what happens is that once you have this ranked up, when you have identified all the possibilities for you, the different types of careers, different types of industries, then you have to start thinking based on what you know, right? How do these things match up with how do these opportunities match up with what matters to you in your career. All right? So you have to attach scores to it. Okay? So this is a very quick way of helping you initiate the thinking of saying, hey, maybe career A or maybe job B looks to be something that's suitable to me because it seems to match up with a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at. Okay, so that is the idea here. Right? Once you have a short list of possibilities, and then you've identified these possibilities, how they match up with what's important to you, right? Then you go out and find out more information about opportunity A, opportunity B, and say, does it confirm what I think it is? Does it confirm about whether it matches up with my values? For those of you who are very into AI, right? Obviously, AI being so pervasive nowadays, right? So I will share with you a way that you can use AI to help you identify what career options you have. What career options you have. Okay? So this is something that I worked with my client, one of my ex-clients, right? And she used this and she shared with me her information, the structure that she used. Okay? So she said, I'm this is using like something like ChatGPT or any other LLMs that you find on the marketplace, like Perplexity or Claude or whatever. Okay, you can state your current role, what is your activities. Okay, you start off with that. Okay, I would like suggestions for what roles I will be a good fit for within that, right, whatever preferred industry that you want to go into. Okay, what are the current skills that you have? Okay, you list down what are the current skills that you have. Then you say what type of role you want. You want a role where you can have what you want to do, right? That's maybe sometimes you can put in the values, what matters to you that you've already come up with. Okay, so once you do this, right, like what my client Jane has done, the AI like ChatGPT would generate out a list of possibilities for you, career options for you, right? But that's not the end, right? From there, right, was very interesting next step that she did, which I want to share with you as well. Following on from that query, she asked again, provide me with a list of 10 possible multinationals that fulfill this criteria and role, right? Now, obviously, if you want to do this, it is best that you choose a AI like ChatGPT or Perplexity that has access to the internet, because then that will give you the latest opportunities or the latest market news. Following on from this little exercise, okay, so you have a list of options, all right? So now you have to decide, whether you want to go into the red box or whether you want to go into the blue box. Now, we already discussed here just now, right? The difficulty and the risk is highest when you jump into the red box, right? So my strong recommendation for you, if you are in the thought pattern of wanting to change what you are doing now, is look at this possibility instead. In other words, pivoting, right? Let me explain to you why. Essentially, the reason for this is your transferable skills. Right? So let me sort of elaborate a little bit more on this. Right? What do we mean by this? All right. So you see here, in the orange box there, all right, you have the same career, but you change industry. In the blue box, you have the same industry, but you change career. All right, let's talk about the orange box. If you want to retain the same career, in other words, for example, if you are a finance person or you are a marketing person or you are a sales person, but you want to change industry, what is your transferable skills to go from the yellow box to the orange box? Can you tell me, type into the chat box, what are the transferable skills you will bring from the yellow box to the orange box? Okay, some people say communication skills, marketing and finance, sales skills, presentation skills, hard skills, interpersonal skills. Well, essentially, if you look at it, it's really the skills that you have, the expertise that you have, right? That you can use in that different industry, right? So if you are a finance person, for example, you are very good at internal financial control processes, right? This can be transferred into many different industries, correct? Right? If you are a salesperson, your transferable skills are what? Maybe dealing with people, that's your transferable skills. Maybe it's about solution selling, right? Instead of product selling, maybe that's your skill sets, right? So you need to identify that. Right? So here, if you want to move from the yellow box to the orange box, you need to identify in terms of your skills and your expertise, what can be transferable to that industry. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to do. Now let's take a look at the blue box. What if you want to go to the same industry but you change your role or your career within that same industry? What do you bring to the table? Product knowledge, perhaps. Knowledge of the industry, yes. Domain knowledge, familiarity, network. Yeah, all right. So it is about your insights into the industry, your familiarity, your insights in the industry, as well as your connections within the industry, right? Now, remember, in order for this to be effective, it generally means that you need to spend a bit of time within that same industry. Okay, you need to spend a bit of time within that same industry to allow you to have cultivated all these things here. Is that all right? Okay, so that is what I mean by transferable skills. Transferable skills. So let me give you my example. Okay, so I started off in the IT industry. I was in the sales side in the IT industry. So I changed industry. Right? So I moved. I've used sales. I was also trained in marketing. So when I shifted industry, I basically used the same skills and in sales and marketing, and then later on business development, and then general management. I I changed industry, but I used the same skills. Right now, I found this to be the easiest to do, okay, because I brought with me problem solving skills, expertise that could be used in other industries. Okay, so you might have the same thinking as well. So most of my career switches have been pivots using the same skills but moving into different industries. Okay, it was only after I spent a bit of time in one of the last industries that I was in, then I decided to change roles, but within that same industry. Okay, so another way to look at what I did, okay, was really to look at it in this way, right? So the first phase of my career was really in places where I focused on products and I ran the business that focused on products, right? Then I moved into another area where I transferred those business building skills, but I transferred it into service-oriented areas. Okay, service-oriented areas. And then I use a combination of all those things to become a career coach right now. All right, where I use my people management skills, my passion in helping people look at their careers, and I started this business on my own. All right. Okay, so hopefully you see the thinking behind why we need to focus on transferable skills as much as possible when we are making a career pivot or career switch. All right. Now, I want to highlight this very, very important factor as well. It's basically your ability to cope with changes. If you are not ready to move along with the times, you're not ready to be flexible and adapt to change, then making a career switch is going to be very, very difficult for you. All right. So I urge you to have this change mindset. Yeah? You can take a look at this workshop that I did as well. All right. So we spent the last half an hour or so talking about who am I, right? What are the opportunities and options that I have after looking at the world of work. Okay, let's talk about strategy. Now, there are a couple of things in this portion on strategy that we must know. Okay, the first thing I already explained is this notion of the hidden job market. Okay, so you all know this principle, right? Most opportunities are hidden, right? So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing you must know in order to help you formulate this strategy is this idea that employers are risk averse. They don't want to take risks. Okay? Why? Why? What are the signs that tell you the employer is risk averse? Well, it goes back to the concerns employers have about career switches, right? What are those concerns? Right? You already mentioned this in the chat box. I summarized this here. All right. These are the concerns. So it reflects upon this notion that employers are risk averse. Okay. So two principles here: hidden job market and employers are risk averse. Now, given these two areas, career switches, what do you need to do to overcome all these things? What do you need to do to overcome all these things? Right? Not so straightforward anymore, right? You see the challenge you have because there's a lot of work you need to do. Okay, so that's why now you come to the the the, the brunt of this whole thing, because now what I'm going to share with you over the next few slides will tell you why the traditional job search process doesn't work, because this part here you must do. You must do. Okay, so what are this? What are the things you can do as a career switcher? These few things. Okay, you have to create relevance. I'm going to explain in detail what each of those things are. All right, you want to be relevant to the opportunity, to the market, to the new area that you want to go into. You want to show proof that you have value in that new role or new industry that you're going into, right? You want to create awareness by your prospective company, your prospective boss, that, hey, you know, I am available. Anita is available for this role, right? I want to go and recruit her. Okay, you have to create awareness among your target group. You have to build support amongst your network, all right? And last but by no means least, in fact, I think this is the most important, you have to be very targeted in your approach. In other words, no more in the traditional job search where you just blast out all your 400-500 CVs and hope something sticks. Doesn't work anymore. You have to be very, very targeted. You have to say, oh, I want to go and find a job in company A and B, A, B, and C, right? So what do I need to do to get opportunities in company A, B, and C? Okay, so you got to be very, very targeted. Okay, so these are the key components of the strategy that you need to do. All right, so let's talk about the first one, which is actually the easiest one that most people do, right? And some of you have already asked this already. How do I create relevance? How do I create relevance? Well, if you look at it, if there is a gap, either a gap in the skills or the experience, or maybe you tell me, what do you need to do if you have a skills gap or an experience gap? I already mentioned this earlier, but tell me, I hope you were listening to my answers. What do you need to do if you have a skills gap or an experience gap? Type into the chat box. Okay, somebody says reskill. What else? Is there only reskill? Build a knowledge base. How do you build a knowledge base? Networking, well, networking not exactly to create relevance. Okay, somebody says go for courses, attend courses. What else? Volunteer pro bono work to gain experience. Yeah, get experience, right? Training, volunteer. Yeah, okay. Right. So in other words, you want to plug the gap, right? Whether it is skills or experience, right? So essentially, you are looking at getting reskill or upskill to plug the gap. Or, like some of you mentioned here, go for career trials, go for career conversion program, something to, or even pro bono, right? Something to let you gain experience, to plug the experience gap, to plug the experience gap. Okay? So this is what most people do first, right? Oh, I go for courses, I should be fine. No, not enough, not enough. Okay? So this is only one component, right? It's the easiest component, but it is only one component. Okay? So create relevance, huh? Create relevance. Next one. How do you prove you have value? Here, the thinking is very, very important. Okay? You have to understand when you are applying for a job, whether it is the same, even if you're not doing career switching, right? It is not about you, It is not about you, okay? You have to prove that you are an asset, not a risk. You are an asset, not a risk. Okay? Now, those of you who have been to my past workshops, you will know that I am a very strong advocate of this approach, right? How do we become an asset? How do we become an asset? Well, basically, is to become a problem solver. To become a problem solver. Okay, so this is very, very critical for you to understand as a career switcher, especially. But essentially, the whole mentality here is to make sure that you have the capability and the vision and the expertise to help solve your potential employer's problem so that you become an asset, not a risk, right? So this notion that it is not about you, it is about how you help the other party. That's how you prove your value. Okay, that's how you prove your value. This next one, I'm going to lump them into three because you can actually approach this with the same strategy, the same action. Okay, right? How do you create awareness? How do you build support? How do you become very, very targeted in your approach, in your strategy to new opportunities? Okay, it's really about personal branding. Once you establish your personal brand, okay, your personal brand, say, Barbara is good at project management, you are able to solve problems in the logistic area, for example, right? That becomes your personal brand. So once people know that Barbara is good in project management in the logistic area, once people know you, they say, oh, I have this opportunity, maybe Barbara can help me. Okay, so that's the power of personal brand. It attracts opportunities to you. But at the same time, when you have a personal brand, when you are building your personal brand, you are reaching out to people as well, building your network through informational interviews, joining groups, contributing to the forums or whatever. Okay. Once you do that, okay, you effectively build what? You build your own soldiers out in the marketplace. They become your recruiters. They will say, oh, Anthony is looking at this opportunity. Let me see what I can find. Okay. And these people will help you uncover the opportunities, uncover the hidden job opportunities. So personal branding becomes a very, very important activity for career switchers, right? So I hope you really, really pay attention to this portion itself, right? Again, take a look at the video, right? Because there's a lot of information in there. But in essence, all right, personal branding helps attract opportunities to you. It helps you when you are developing your network to build a group of supporters who will go out to the marketplace to help you uncover hidden opportunities. Okay? So, very, very important. Right. So, now you have sorted out where you are now, your current state, where you want to go. All right. So there is a gap. There is a gap. So you have been doing all the strategies, activities that I've shared over in the last few minutes or so. Okay. So what else do you need to do? What else do you need to do? Well, essentially, you have to spend time doing an action plan. right? The activities to bridge the gap between your current state and your desired state. What is the action plan? What is the action plan? Again, it all depends on what you are trying to do. So I'm giving you a framework here for you to refer to how you can develop this action plan. How you can develop this action plan. This one is a very short one. I think it's about 20 minutes or so, or maybe less than that, right? So, but it gives you a very useful framework that I've used with a lot of my clients to tell them, hey, this is something you need to do to formulate an action plan. All right. Now, I want to show you this little video which I just came across the other day, right? And it really gives a very good illustration of how you can approach this notion of creating a plan for yourself. Creating a plan for yourself. So take a look at this video, right? We all have strengths, expertise, the things that we want to do. And sometimes if we get frustrated that we don't achieve those things, it's not because we had a bad plan, right? Maybe we need to change the plan in order to make it fit what we want to do. Okay? So be nimble with your action plan, be nimble with the things that you need to do, right? That is the key message here. All right. So we have talked about these three portions here. Okay, who am I? Looking at the world of work, and then developing a strategy. Okay, now all these three things needs to be done before you do this final thing in connecting up with the employer. Okay, because it's no point connecting up the employer if you haven't done all these things. Because if you do that as a career switcher, if you don't do all these things, you will have no credibility with the employer. You have no credibility with the employer. All right, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so let's take a step back and really understand this again. Okay, we all talked about this just now, right? Employers are risk adverse. All right, I hope you all understand that this thinking employers are risk adverse. Okay, so because employers are risk adverse, when you are at this final stage of connecting up with them, there are a few things you must do. You must do. Okay, what are these things? What are these things? First of all, you must make the effort to know and understand what are the expectations of the company that you want to work in, and what are the expectations of the new career that we want to go into. Okay, for example, if you feel that, hey, I want work-life balance, I don't want a lot of after office hours thing, then the career path that you go into, you have to understand, does that career path allow you to have that value, achieve that career value, right? If it doesn't, then what's the point? Especially if that career value is very important to you. So you have to understand this, right? You have to make the effort. You have to make the effort to understand what are the issues the company is facing, right? And how you can help. Okay? In other words, how you can solve their problems. Okay? So some people may ask me, how do I know what the problems the company is facing? Do I go online to search? Yeah, online maybe you can, right? Or what is the other alternative? You talk to people, right? Again, I keep coming back to this notion of talking to people, talking to the people within the company, within the industry. People in different companies in the same industry may know that company, right? And they may tell you what the company is going through, right? Then you have to understand with your own skills, expertise, and experience, can you help solve that company's problem? So you have to put in the legwork. Okay. What is your value? Okay. So in other words, what sort of salary do you think you can command? And here you need to look at not only the market's salary range, but also formulate your expectations. In other words, okay, is there a bottom line of salary that you cannot go below, that you cannot accept? You must formulate that. Okay. The other thing you need to understand is that when you are looking at salary, you must look at it more holistically. In other words, a bigger picture, not just money alone, because sometimes there are other benefits available for you as well. Okay. You need to practice. All right. You need to anticipate what are the potential questions interviewer or employer will ask you as a career switcher, and then you need to prepare the answers. Okay. Now, many of my clients have actually used AI to help with that, right? They will use AIs to say, you are a recruiter or someone who's working in this company looking to hire this particular role. Okay, what are the typical interview questions you will ask, right? Then the AI will generate those questions for you. Then you can ask the AI, based on my experience and my expertise, then maybe you attach your resume to the AI. How can I best answer those questions? Right? You can try that as well. Okay. Now, for those of you who have I've been working with a coach, then by all means bounce it off the coach. Okay. But you must anticipate probable questions and prepare the answers. And then lastly, but very, very important, you must practice. Practice how you deliver the answers. How you deliver the answers. All right. So you can see already, there's a lot of things you need to do, right? It's not it's not complex, no, but it is a lot of effort. It is a lot of effort. Okay. So that's why I always say that changing careers is not difficult, but it requires a lot of effort. All right. So let me then make sure you all understand this as well. When we connect up with the employer, there are different ways, right, to connect up with the employer. Can you all tell me what are the different touch points that an employer would have with you as a prospective employee or candidate? What are the different touch points? How would the employer get to know you? How would the employer get to know you? Okay, some people say LinkedIn. What else? Is it only LinkedIn? Social media, LinkedIn, right? Headhunter, well, okay, could be. But the direct contact, what is the direct contact that the employer will have? Okay, interview, that's one. Any others? Job portals, I don't understand this answer. I think it's more about how the employer knows you. Okay, referral, okay, network. Past job experience is not how they will know you. Okay, right? It's okay. I'm talking about the channel. So network, okay, conversation. That means during the interview itself, is it? References possibly. Okay, so let me sort of give you a very quick overview of this. So essentially, if you look at it, if you have the opportunity of doing a career trial, whether it is through voluntary or whether it's through the career conversion program, you know, in essence, the potential employer is there, right? Because they have direct contact with you, they know who you are, they see you working. Okay, so that's one aspect. Another way is that when you do informational interviews, whoever you speak to during those informational interviews is a potential employer. Correct or not? Right? Because they are the ones in the 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 job or the industry or the company that you are interested in. So if they don't, if they are not the direct employer, they could be the referral to the employer itself, right? So that's another channel. Then obviously, they read your resume and then they call you up for interviews. There are also channels for them to get in touch with you. Obviously, through LinkedIn and all, but LinkedIn is more an indirect way. Okay, so these are the more direct way that they will get to know you. They'll get to know you. So bear in mind these different channels. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: when you are connecting up with the employer, it is not only just through the resume in the interview. All right. Very, very important for you to remember this. It is not just only through the resume and interview. There are other channels as well. Okay, there are other channels as well. So let's revisit this notion of the concerns that employers have for career switches, right? So we've talked about all these things. So let's deal with them. How do we navigate around these concerns, right? I think a lot of you are quite interested in this. So let's talk about this. So let's talk about these things in the yellow first. Whoops, sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. Sorry, hopefully you all don't get an ear jam. Okay, so relevance, ability to adapt. Do you fit in with the colleagues and the boss? Are there issues in the previous workplace? How do you address these concerns as a career switcher? Think about this. How do you address these concerns as a career switcher? Any idea? Any idea? Maybe here you put on your thinking cap. How can you do this? How can you do this? Well, the basic principle here is this. You need to show evidence. Okay? Now, how do you show the evidence? Remember those channels that I talked to you about? Those different channels that I talked to you about? Right? You show evidence through those activities. Those activities, what? When you go through your career conversion program or any other career trials, when you go through informational interviews, when you talk to your network or your social media, show evidence that you have those things. Okay? Then you reinforce this evidence in your resume and during the interviews. Okay? So again, please understand, all right? When you have other channels that will help you to address these concerns, it's not just the CV and the interview process. It's all the other channels that will help you as well. Okay? So please remember this, right? Remember, the resume, the purpose of the resume is to get an interview, right? The interview is for the job, right? But before you get into the resume portion, as a career switcher, the most effective way is for the employer or the prospective employer to know you before, a little bit about you beforehand. And those channels are the best way for them to know you a little bit better before they actually confirm it through the resume. Okay? So, very, very important. Right? So you need to show evidence. You need to show evidence. Right. Now, when you are showing evidence, what are things you need to prove? You need to illustrate how you can solve their problems. Okay? So when you're talking in the informational interviews or when you're talking to your network, all right, you got to give examples of what you have done, the problems you have solved. That those problems have to be relevant to the company that you are targeting. All right, you can show it when you are doing your work in the career trials or whatever. Okay? You need to show how your old skills would be relevant to the new area. Okay, so your transferable skills, you need to show that. Okay? And you need to show your attitude. Okay, you have to be enthusiastic. You have to demonstrate a willingness to learn. Because I think the worst thing any potential employer wants to have is an employee who's not willing to learn. They don't want to have an employee who's not enthusiastic about the role. Okay, so as a career switcher, it is all the more important that you show this quality. All the more important that you show this quality. All right. So showing evidence in those areas. Let's talk about salary. I saw a few questions about salary previously. So let's talk about this. This is always the part that get many people interested and excited. Salary expectations. As a career switcher, what are your salary expectations? Well, let me start with yourself first. Okay? You need to formulate your own expectations. Okay? It is not about the employer expectation. It's about you managing your own expectation first. Okay? So in other words, going through the notion of what is your baseline that you can accept. Okay? Then you're going to match this up with what's out there in the market. You look at the average salary in the marketplace. Then you have to see, does the average salary or the in the marketplace or the salary of that position match up with your expectations? You have to answer. Because sometimes I got a lot of clients who say they have this expecting, especially among the more senior clients, the older clients. They have this salary expectation. But then when they actually do the research on the market salary of those positions that they want to go into, then they find, oh no, those salary are actually lower than what what I earned previously. Do I want to accept that? Okay? So you have to bear this in mind. You have to bear this in mind. All right. But the key thing here is this: how do you match it up? You know, how do you come to that conclusion whether it is suitable for you? Right? It's really you whether which ones are you doing here? Which ones are you doing here? Because if you jump straight into the red box, your chance of having significant value add because is very low because you have low relevant transferable skills. If you are going into either of the blue boxes, your chance is higher because you have the relevant transferable skills. Okay, so that is important for you to understand, right? So the basic question you need to answer, the basic question you need to answer is this, you know, from the employer's perspective, why should I pay you that salary? Why should I pay you that salary? Isn't it? That's the basic thing you need to be able to answer, right? Right? So here, then the thinking here is that you have to be an asset to the employer. You have to be the asset to the employer. You are not a risk, right? Whenever you go into the company, right, you will be able to help that company. So that means you become an asset. That means you become an asset, right? This notion of longevity. This notion of longevity. What do you think is the real thinking behind an employer, right, as far as this longevity is concerned, right? In essence, from my experience, these questions can be different depending on what age group you fall into. You think about this, right? What age group you fall into. So if you are the younger age group, say mid-30s or so, right, they will be thinking, are you committed or not? Will you stay long or not? Or is this just like an interim measure for you to leave once you get a better job? Right? So that's one thinking, right? Another thinking is that if you are of the senior person, a senior age, what is the thinking behind this? It is whether you can contribute enough, right? Whether you have the runway in order to contribute. Obviously, there are other things which is more about fit, but here, as far as longevity is concerned, it is about whether you can contribute enough or not. Salary is related to this, but not directly to longevity. Okay, right? So let me try and address this by a different category. So if I talk about this one, if you are younger, right, and they are thinking, will you stay long? As a career switcher, maybe this is like, an interim measure for you because you don't have any other choice and therefore you come in and once you get something, you leave. Okay. So here is really about showing evidence again. Okay. Evidence of what? Evidence of what? Evidence that you are really interested in that role or in that position. Okay. So let me ask you, how can you show evidence that you are really interested in that new role or the new industry? Can you type into the chat box? How can you show that you are really interested? How can you show that you are really interested? Any idea? How can you show that you are really interested? Showcase your knowledge? Not exactly, right? Take up challenges and learning could be, that's more indirect. Up skills, taking up challenges. What else? Understand the company mission, evidence of effort. I like that. Evidence of effort. Research the company. All right. Essentially, if you look at it, I remember the different channels that I told you. about the organization has a chance to take a look at you, right? Is those areas, right? I'm really interested because I took the effort to go for a career conversion program. I'm really interested because I interview a lot of people to understand more about this role or this company or this industry. I'm really interested because my network of people is really in this area and I'm developing a lot of connection in this area. So these are ways to help you demonstrate your interest, right? These are evidence there, all right? So same thing when you're in the older category, right? You should also use these same channels to show your interest as well, right? Show your interest, right? Because one of the key concerns many employers have if you are a more senior person is that they're thinking, are you downgrading yourself or not? Why are you willing to downgrade yourself? Correct or not? For those of you who are on a more senior age, right? Why do you want to accept a pay cut? Because I saw some questions just now early on. I can accept a pay cut. Then what you were earning so much before, why are you willing to accept a pay cut? Right? So you have to bear that in mind. Which means what? It means you have to take the effort again to find the company that suits you, suits your talent, the company that has a background in hiring older people. You have to find that out. How you find that out? Through the network. Okay? Through the network. The other way, make sure whatever skill sets you have, right? You can use those skill sets to deliver impact immediately to the company, right? You can solve their problem. Okay? So that's another way to show that you will stay long. Right? Third one, which I feel should not be discounted because it is very, very valuable, especially if you are a senior person, right? Is that you should tell and show the prospective company that going to this company fits your objective, fits your career goals at that stage in life. Okay, so for example, if now you're saying, I want a better work-life balance, okay, be frank about it because many companies now understand, especially for older workers, mental health and well-being is very, very important. So work-life balance becomes a key, and there may be jobs who allow you to have work-life balance, especially if you're an older worker. Obviously, there are downsides to that, right? So you have to manage it. You have to manage it because sometimes when you say I want work-life balance, the prospective employer could think that, oh, you'll be a slacker, you won't put in commitment. So you have to find ways to address those areas as well. Right now, how do you address those? Again, today that is not a topic today. In fact, I have a whole workshop on this. On how you can reinvent your career after 40. No, right? So you take a look at that, and it specifically addresses um, what you can do as an older worker, as a senior worker. All right. Let me sort of recap those 4 components itself. So the first one, who am I? Basically, you are looking at yourself in the mirror, right? And asking yourself trying to answer these 3 questions. What skills you have, what do you do well, what is important to you, what engages and motivates you, right? So that's the first part you need to do. You need to then answer these 3 questions when you are looking at what's out there in the world of work, right? Focus here is on exploring, okay? So you need to explore all these things. What skills are organizations looking for? What type of organization best suits me? What type of job best aligns with my interests and traits? Right? Once you have those answers, it's all about matching. Okay? It's all about matching. And from this matching itself, you need to then make a decision, right? Which path do you go for? Which path do you go for? Right? Whether you go for the same career change industry or change career, same industry, right? You have to decide. There's no generic ruling for this. There's no generic ruling. Whatever path you take, it is essentially down to what sort of transferable skills you can bring to the table. What sort of transferable skills you can bring to the table. All right. Then we talk about strategy. Strategy. And the key thing here about strategy is to make sure that we address this notion that employers are risk adverse, right? So what do we need to do in the strategy itself is really to make sure that we establish credibility with the potential employer. Because if we don't establish credibility, then chances are, you would not be successful. You will not be successful. Okay, or you not be called up for an interview. All right. When we talk about the final leg, the final connection with the employer, focus on trying to address directly the concerns that employers have about career switches. Okay, so you got to show examples, you got to show evidence. Okay, you got to show commitment, right? And you have to demonstrate that your transferable skills can add value to them. Right? And last but by no means least, you're going to make sure that whatever position that you apply for, you are the perfect fit for that company, for that role. Okay. The last portion itself, I don't want to do the traditional summary, but I want to make sure that I present to you the themes of what I'm trying to say in this whole topic together. Okay, so the first theme here is this. We all have different facets of our career, right? We have all different versions of ourselves. So I think this notion of a career for life should not be something that you are thinking of. It should be where you are going through your lifetime, there are different careers you can take. Okay? And this journey of getting different careers essentially can be rough. Right? It can be rough. Right? So, but it is a journey that you need to recognize that you need to take. So there is essentially no endpoint. I mean, I gave you an example of what I did, right? It was a journey, right? Now I'm 62. I should be retiring next year, but I think I'll still continue because over the last 10 years or so, I was doing something that I found really rewarding as a career coach, right? So that was a journey which made me allow me to arrive there. And now I'm still on this journey. Okay? So I want to suggest to you a framework that I found really, really useful. Okay, this framework is very circular, as you can see, right? So the first part here is this portion about conducting experiments. So here you can see in the blue bubbles, when you are at this stage, you manage your expectations, you manage what you're thinking, your mindset, be open to different things coming along, you be adaptable, and you focus on developing and building your skills and strengths. Okay, focus on that, right? Then you really need to go on to the next cycle as well, right? Where you start looking at how you build your connections, build relationships. The whole process of this is that you need to add value to them before they add value to you. Correct? So that's the meaning of building relationships, right? And the focus here is on getting support on what you're trying to do. Right? Then you start looking at the next one. This process of telling a new story. And in essence, this is about branding, right? Branding. And in the branding process, you start looking at, convincing people, convincing yourself that this is the right path for you. Okay? You do what you preach. Okay? You visualize a success that you want to have. And I'll give you an example of when I started on my journey as a career coach, right? I started trying out pro bono, telling people I'm doing this, right? And the way I convinced myself is that I actually did the coaching. I did coaching for free. I help people. I visualized what I'll be doing as a career coach, right? So I'm telling stories to myself. I'm telling stories to my network, right? Then this last portion on evaluating and resetting. in the event that you don't find that that path is for you, it's okay. You just reevaluate and reset again. Okay? So it's a reiterative cycle. It is not like point A to point Z, right? To me, it is a cycle. And honestly, I've done this throughout my career where I found that, hey, certain things didn't work out right for me. Maybe the industry wasn't right. That's why I changed industry, right? So hopefully you have this little framework in your head, right? The next theme, make sure you all understand that the traditional job search process cannot apply anymore, especially if you are a career switcher, if you are a senior worker, or if you are someone who's been absent from the workforce for a long time. Doesn't apply anymore, right? You need to put in the effort to do these two things, right? The combination of these two things would help you develop the strategy that's useful for you, right? And then you can approach your target employer. Because if you don't do all those things, you don't have the credibility, right? So you need to do those things as a career switcher in order to establish credibility when you are stepping in front of the prospective employer. Next thing, I said this before. It is not about you, okay? It is about how you help this person, especially if this person is risk averse, okay? So you have to think that you need to prove you have value to this person. Just to sort of make sure that we all are on the same page here, this is my schedule for the next few sessions itself, right? So I'm taking a break in September because for those of you who know, I'm actually trying to put together a book, right? So I'm hopefully trying to finish off in August and September so that I can release it out, okay? So if you're interested in joining me in the October session or the December session, by all means do so in the normal way, right? I just want to sort of round off by basically making sure that we all understand this notion that we have to take responsibility for our careers. I think gone are the days where we rely on the organization to give us a career path, right? We have to craft our own career path as well. Okay. Now, I recently actually wrote a LinkedIn article about 7 habits of a career switcher, right? So those of you who, if you are interested to take a look at this article, just go to my LinkedIn profile, right? It's there, all right? You can just take a look at that, okay? So I think I hope you all got something out of today's session. For those of you who stay all the way down here, after that's 99 of you, all right? I hope that it proved useful for you. If you want to keep in touch with me, by all means, feel free to connect up with me on any of the platforms that I've listed previously. All right. I saw some of the workshops. You say the list of other workshops you're conducting in August. I think the workshop I just shared with you in no more in August. This will be my last public workshop in August. Right. I only do in October and December. Okay. The other workshops that I have is actually for companies. It's not for public. Okay, so my apologies for that. But in any case, I think if you want to get in touch with me, if you've got any questions you want to ask, just feel free to drop me an email. Okay, just feel free to drop me an email. All right. So thank you all for your time, your attention, and all your great questions. All right. I want to wish you the best of success in your career and for the rest of August. For those of you who are August babies, all right, happy birthday, because I'm an August baby also. So my birthday is coming up as well. All right. So again, take care, everyone. All right. I see you all soon. All right. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.